Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I am your host, Omar Khalid, but today is a special edition of our weekly show in which we of course will be highlighting Youm Takbeer. Today we are observing, celebrating 25 years since Pakistan became a nuclear power, the first nuclear power in the entire Muslim world, the seventh nuclear power in the entire world. Pakistan has been an extremely responsible nuclear state since the year that it established itself as one. And since then, despite all the different countries that have been pointing fingers towards Pakistan, highlighting that there might be certain lacunas with Pakistan's nuclear arsenal or surrounding its nuclear arsenal, Pakistan has always proven with facts, figures, and of course with the visits of the Director General of the IAEA that has been happening since quite some time, the recent being very recently, everybody has been satisfied by the way Pakistan has been managing its nuclear arsenal. Pakistan will and always will be a responsible nuclear state. We will be discussing the historical significance of it. We will be trying to make an assertion of what happened between then and 25 years now. How important has it been for Pakistan to become a nuclear state? How important is it also for Pakistan's defense to be one in the wake of neighborhood countries that are not so favorable for Pakistan to survive in the long run? We have seen also how other countries in the region have been lambasting Pakistan one way or the other, but the same countries have a lot of dark spots as far as their own nuclear history is concerned. To talk about that and more, we've been joined by two guests, one in the studios and one online. In the studios, we have the privilege of having with us Syed Muhammad Ali. He's an expert in strategic affairs, joins us after quite some time in our show. Thank you very much, Ali, to have joined us. And online, we've been joined by Agha Iqrar Hussain. He's a political analyst. Agha Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us as well. It's a pleasure and a privilege to talk to you. Let's begin now with Ali. Ali, 25 years seems like yesterday, if I'm not wrong. We all remember the day when it happened. We all remember when the announcements came on PTV, because of course it was PTV at that time, and how there were so many question marks surrounding that. When you look back 25 years ago, how proud were you as a Pakistani when you got to know, when your family or your friends got to know that Pakistan is now a nuclear state?
I think in 75 years of Pakistan's history, if I can summarize the feeling, the national sentiment on this day 25 years ago, it can be summarized in one word. I think it was our finest hour, because it represented the collective wisdom, knowledge, hard work, will, determination, not to be bowed down, to be pressurized, to be coerced by any international power, and to meet our national security imperative no matter what. I think that brought out that challenging international, economic and other problems, brought out the best in Pakistan. And that is, I think, a great evidence, a manifestation of our true national character. That we always, alhamdulillah, rise to the occasion, rise to the challenge. Whenever we are challenged, either regionally, globally, I think we always rise to the challenge. Right now we are facing some issues, but I think again our nation, our armed forces, our scientists, our diplomats, our military officers, all these contributed significantly. Most of them, let me remind you, Omar, quietly and consistently. Most of the people associated with the success of our nuclear program are unsung heroes, and it is prudent that they remain unsung for obvious reasons. For security reasons. So it is also very important to remind your viewers that it was not the achievement of one individual or one institution. It was a team effort. It was not just a team effort, it was a national achievement in which you have critical contribution from the scientific community, from the engineers, from our diplomats around the world, who handled the international pressure, the sanction regime and everything, our military which provided security and guidance, and also our political leadership, which did not succumb to international pressure or even incitations or luring or bribing or anything to meet this national security objective. So I think this is the proudest moment in our national history. It achieved three things. Number one, at the global level, it rose Pakistan as a world power, as a nuclear power. So how the world perceives Pakistan, their perception changed. When Pakistani diplomat and leader speaks at United Nations, when he speaks to the world leaders, they are, whether you say it or not, they are always cognizant of the fact that you're talking to the leader of a nuclear or a diplomat of a nuclear power. The second aspect is restoring durable peace in this region, ensuring that no misadventure of any level, any type, any kind from across the border will be acceptable, will be tolerable, and the enemy respects your credible nuclear deterrence. And the third aspect is the national. It made our nation confident and proud like perhaps nothing else.
There are three important elements that you have highlighted, of course, and I think it is pertinent that our new generation also understands the importance of this national effort that was made as far as this very day 25 years ago is concerned. Iqrar Saab, when it comes to Pakistan, when it comes to 1998 and this very day 25 years back, there were a lot of people who, of course, know what happened, like yourself, like myself, like Ali, but there are a lot of people from this new generation who might not understand the true aspect, the true value of the importance of this day in 1998. How important is it to for this new generation also to ascertain Pakistan's importance as a responsible nuclear state?
Of the importance of this ascertain Pakistan's importance as a responsible.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, of course, we can hear you perfectly.
Can you hear me?
We can go ahead, Iqrar Saab.
Hear me?
We can hear you perfectly.
I want to rectify basically a big error in the history of Pakistan, because you just used this footage in your show before starting when the former Prime Minister Mian Nawaz Sharif and Mushahid Hussain Syed and everybody was coming out in the corridor of National Assembly. And if you look, I mean, very closely, you will find me over there, because at that time I was working international media. So there is a very big misconception which I want to share with you. For example, we know some journalists told Mia Nawaz Sharif Saab to go for a nuclear test. This is categorically wrong. Actually, we knew everything by March 1998 that India is going for another nuclear test. So we were totally ready for that. And people are here. You can check my facts with them. Ishaq Dar Saab is here, Mushahid Hussain Syed Saab is here, Sartaj Aziz Saab is here. You can check with them my facts and figure. This is very misconcept that people trying to become hero and saying, okay, this was me who told Nawaz Sharif for a nuclear test. This is categorically contrary to the fact. First of all, let me add. Secondly, your question. Yes, unfortunately, if you remember, we have a Chagi set over this Chagi mountain symbol was unfortunately recently it was burned down. So this can tell you how unfortunately our youth is not connected psychologically with this is huge, you can say, this issue. Otherwise nobody could dare to burn it down. And unfortunately there was a Chagi mountain symbol also in Faizabad, which was removed by the Mr. Musharraf, and it was a very, I mean, a painful development for people like me. This very important thing of Pakistan atomic, I mean, to be a power, it should be included in our syllabus. But we are already always shy. And if you bear me out, after 4 or 5 years, we are celebrating this, I mean, day with full-fledged state back. Otherwise, in last 4 years, this day was not celebrated. So when we are, taking such decisions, fluid decisions, okay, remove this Chagi mountain, model from Faizabad, and then we didn't go for celebration for this day for 4 or 5 years. So this is the state who should understand that this is the state who can to inject the love and affection and resilience among our youth, but unfortunately it is not being done.
All right. Syed Muhammad Ali, when it comes to educating our youth as far as important events such as this very day in 1998 is concerned, how important is it for this new generation that might not understand the importance of it, or for those who have not really grasped the reality of it, to ascertain the true value of Pakistan as a nuclear state?
I think it's a profound question. Let me build further from what Haroon Saab just said. I think absolutely it's a national security imperative that our nation and our youth in particular should know not just why this program was developed and what value it adds to our national security, both traditional security and non-traditional security, whether it's not just for our deterrence, but also in terms of our quality of life and our environment, our health, our education, our agriculture, and energy. All these things are affected and have benefited significantly from our nuclear program. Definitely, I agree with Haroon Saab in so far as including the significance of Pakistan's nuclear program in our national curriculum, perhaps at the primary school level. Just some basic brief chapter which introduces our children to its significance and purpose. Number one, let me say at the outset that the purpose of this program was not to achieve some hegemonic designs. The origin, not many people know, because I've written on it extensively internationally as well. Our program began in the 50s, and we benefited from the US Atoms for Peace program. And it started as a peaceful program. We had a reactor, a small research reactor near Islamabad, Par 1, where we learned how to run, operate, manage, maintain nuclear operations. And we also trained hundreds and thousands of scientists and engineers in 50s and 60s. So after the 1971 debacle, Pakistan realized that it can no longer trust international assistance for to ensuring its survival and national security. And I think it was that bitter experience which forced Pakistan's leadership and nation and also scientific community into galvanizing themselves into a team, a very dynamic, more self-motivated team, which bore the brunt of international sanctions, international coercion, defied intelligence operations, and worked tirelessly, quietly. Most of them, as I earlier said, are unsung heroes for decades. Before we achieved in the 70s and 80s, we mastered our nuclear fuel cycle, which essentially means we mastered all aspects of the nuclear program. And then we converted that into a nuclear option, which became available in the 80s. So basically, when we took the decision to demonstrate our capability, the nation must know on 28th May 1998, and let me take some pride and honor that I'm speaking perhaps in the same studio from where this announcement was made to the world that Pakistan has joined that exclusive club of nuclear powers. This is the studio, Omar, from where this announcement was made to the world. And secondly, once we acquired that capability, we had that capability almost for 15 years. But the decision to demonstrate it was forced upon us by our eastern neighbors' irresponsible and dangerous and hegemonic behavior. Because when they tested in the second week of May in 1998, they started making some very irresponsible and dangerous accusations and announcements that we'll perhaps take back Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and they will call Pakistan's bluff. They don't have the nuclear capability. So it was a national security imperative, despite economic coercion, despite threats and international pressure, to demonstrate to the international community, to prove to the adversaries that our deterrence is credible and perhaps technically more advanced, more safe, and more highly developed than their own design. Let me quickly inject a technical aspect for the interest of your viewers, that right now some of the most senior Indian scientists and strategic thinkers are debating. If you read most recent article of Foreign Affairs, one of the leading Indian strategic thinkers based in the US, Ashley Tellis, he is advocating the resumption of nuclear tests by India. Why he is doing that? Because there is a technical compulsion. The scientific community and the strategic community knows that their design and yield is not according to their requirement. So what they claimed on the second week of May 1998 before their nation, before the international community, they know that the design is not as effective, as capable, as high yield as they want. So they want to resume it. That is what is guiding their reluctance to sign CTBT. So the world must know. So their deterrence is actually not credible. And the other aspect is the safety security aspect, which is very important, Emma, because among the 8 or 9 countries which have mastered the nuclear weapon, there is only one country in the world which is governed by extremist terrorist mindset. So the world must know that is the world safe when this responsibility of managing peace in the world and the region through nuclear weapons is entrusted with an individual with an extremist hegemonic terrorist mindset who was considered terrorist a few years ago. And lastly, sometime their cruise missiles misfire, sometime their uranium and other is found sold in workshops and it is smuggled. Sometime their nuclear powered submarine face accidents, they forget to close its hatch and number of their sailors die. So the world must know that can they trust the responsibility of managing and securing nuclear arsenal with a country whose leadership is terrorist, which is extremist, where scientific community is poorly trained, poorly motivated, and their security personnel is highly irresponsible and unprofessional.
I agree, but we'll come to that trust factor a bit later in the show. Agha, Iqrar, I'd like to understand, when we look at Pakistan being the first Muslim nuclear state in the entire Islamic world as we speak, when we look also in 1998, when just a few weeks back India had made known to the world that it had become a nuclear power, it had demonstrated to the entire world. How important was it for Pakistan to also demonstrate its nuclear capability in order to have a balance in the region?
Nuclear power had demonstrated to the entire world. How important in order to have a balance in the region?
Of course, it was inevitable. Look, Omar, there was a different, you can say, start of society who had been telling Pakistan, why should Pakistan had gone for this nuclear, capability and so on and so forth. But whatever happened today in the world, taking the lead from Ukraine, which left, gave all of its nuclear arsenals under the Budapest uh, contract, or what you call Budapest Accord, we have seen uh, this is, I mean, Ukraine is so vulnerable today. So after the Ukraine disaster, now we should understand as a nation what is the importance of this deterrence. So it is, everything is clear, and I think people who had been using so-called human rights and blah 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 to criticize Pakistan nuclear capability are, I mean, they have no words to say now. And I'm taking taking the lead from Muhammad Ali Saab. I would like to mention 37 cases of nuclear proliferation and theft were reported in 5 years only. Just imagine how how vulnerable Indian nuclear arsenals and nuclear program is. But unfortunately, media, international media, is mum. So we are very responsible nation, and it was inevitable for Pakistan. It is not only for the Kashmir issue, but one thing, Umar, you just mentioned, I want to disagree with it. It is very unfortunate. Pakistan bomb was uh, tagged with a religion. Pakistan had Islamic bomb. Why not in India had a Hindu bomb? Why not other countries had a Christian bomb? But unfortunately, Pakistani bomb is tagged and painted as a religious bomb, Islamic
But
bomb.
that is also, you know,
And
a certain
unfortunately, little
section of the
responsibility.
media, a certain section of certain powers in the world that want to highlight it as such, that do not,
Invite for
that
this
still
show,
have not
and
accepted the fact
he
that
understand what I'm
Pakistan is
going
a
to say.
responsible nuclear Islamic
Unfortunately,
state.
we had been, our so-called academia or so-called intelligentsia had been writing books, oh, this is Islamic bomb. So actually, we were giving space to international forums, to international media, to people who are against Pakistan, to make a shocking news for everyone. Oh, let's see, an Islamic country has a bomb. So we are also responsible for this mess up. But we have a bomb, like any other country. Our bomb is a bomb. It is neither an Islamic bomb nor a Muslim bomb, or it has no color. So this narrative should have been promoted, but unfortunately, 2 or 3%, I don't want to name them, they had been giving money to people to write books. We are making Islamic bomb. So then we have seen the repercussions of this stupid media campaign. So I am of the view this bomb is basically a future of the country. And as I mentioned before, our youth should be invited to see what is going on in Ukraine. We have a videos, we have a films, we have a documentaries. We should show the Ukraine to Pakistani youth to tell them, okay, look, if we could have not this deterrence, we could have been one of the countries like Ukraine, which is in the middle of the Europe, and for the last almost 9 years, it is. It is almost disintegrated, and for the 1.5 year, it is being bombed, but it has no deterrence to deal with. Almost disintegrated, and for the one
Coming
and
to
a
you,
half year,
Ali,
it is being
the
bombed,
fact remains, of
but
course,
it has
that
no
Pakistan
deterrence
became a
to deal with.
responsible nuclear power. It has demonstrated since the last 25 years that it is, in fact, a responsible nuclear state. Never in these 25 years has a single incident come out of the Pakistani soil which proves otherwise, contrary to what, as you yourself said, has been happening in India. Now, the global reaction when Pakistan became a nuclear power was, of course, uh, not good, did not go in Pakistan's favor. Pakistan went through a lot of restrictions for some time, but the nation stood as one against it, and withstood the difficulties that came after it. And now you see how we are moving forward, despite the issues that we have currently as well. We still are moving forward and respected amongst the Muslim community and the world at large, as you yourself have said. Now, why are there still certain sections of the world apart from India? Let's put India on the side, because I'd like to discuss that aspect a bit later in the show. Why are there still center powers in the world that continue to highlight Pakistan as an irresponsible nuclear state? B, do not want to put Pakistan in the same vein or in the same platter as other nuclear countries with a deliberate mindset so as to denigrate Pakistan as a responsible Muslim state? How has Pakistan dealt with it, and how does Pakistan continue to deal with it?
I think very profound questions, Omar. Three things. Number one, I think the world, you frequently discuss international politics, is a very insecure, very selfish, a very callous place. It's perpetual contest for power, and there is no hope or space for anybody who is considered weak in international politics. That is the cardinal lesson of international history of last 5,000 years. No matter how good you are, how virtuous you are, but if you are weak, you cannot expect any rights. You cannot expect to protect your sovereignty, security, integrity. So we also, let me reflect objectively. We, as I earlier pointed out, we also learned from a very bitter experience of 1971. And we assumed, and also earlier 1965 as well, in the sense that the international alliances of which we were a part did not help us as much as we expected them to. So these two wars made us realize that Pakistan cannot outsource its national security to any great power. National security, Umar, is a national responsibility, and it is not easy to get it because the world does not want you to be powerful. Nobody wants you to be powerful because once you become powerful, you become difficult for others. You become difficult and reluctant to be coerced into obliging other powers, into following their dictates and policies. So nuclear deterrence is not just a deterrence against kinetic, conventional or nuclear attack. It's also a deterrence against coercion, against blackmail, as Prime Minister Bhutto once said after smiling Buddha in 1974 when India tested its nuclear weapon, that Pakistan cannot afford nuclear blackmail. And what Mr. Haroon has just said is the most stark, grave and realistic example of what's going on with Ukraine right now, which we have discussed repeatedly in your program earlier. That had Ukraine not disarmed, it would have effectively deterred an external attack on its territory. And since it unilaterally gave up its nuclear weapons, it is at the mercy of the same country. Let me tell you, Omar, bitter words, harsh words. It is at the mercy of the same country which once provided it extended deterrence during the Cold War. That's how callous and insecure international politics is. So Pakistan, again, let me remind your viewers, faced extreme international coercion, pressure, sanctions to dissuade and discourage us from becoming a nuclear power and from becoming a sovereign nuclear power which can deter external aggression and intervention. That is an option that our adversaries want to keep open. But once from this studio on 28th May 1998, this announcement was made to the world that Pakistan has joined the elite nuclear club, that means that the option for intervention, the option for aggression, is no more there for anyone, particularly India. So that is something which does not make a lot of people happy who have some ulterior motives against Pakistan.
Who have always had ulterior motives against Pakistan. Let me be very frank about it, because a lot of countries were not happy that Pakistan became a nuclear state. Of course, demonstrated its nuclear capabilities.
But can I just add one important point, because it's related to the earlier point about the youth awareness, which is very critical.
That is what Agha Iqrar has also been saying.
It is critical for our nation, and particularly our youth, to understand its significance and value that it adds to our national security. Because we should learn from the tragedy, from the destiny of countries like Libya, Iraq, Syria, Ukraine. What's going on with them? Because they do not have nuclear deterrence. It is only because of nuclear deterrence that and our very competent, capable armed forces, that our adversary knows, respects and recognizes that attacking Pakistan is no longer an option. Harming Pakistan through direct, kinetic, conventional or strategic means is not an option. That is something, you know, at repeated 7 times since 1987, there have been 6 to 7 crises in which India attempted to impose a war on Pakistan, but at all such occasions they failed once they realized that this could trigger a nuclear holocaust in this region. And it was not just Pakistan, it was also international community which reminded India that India, let me say, Omar, cannot translate its willingness, its will to harm Pakistan into its regional hegemony or net security provider in the region. That is not an option. So whenever, however they have tried, they have always failed. But lastly, I must congratulate the country, the nation, that in the last 25 years we have come a long way. That is a very important historic occasion for us 25 years ago. But we must be proud that with the dedication of our scientists, engineers and military officers, today our deterrence is far more capable and credible than it was 25 years ago. We have land forces, we have naval forces, we have air force, and we have a complete triad. And the range, the yield, the targets, and also the delivery means, the warhead designs are diverse, which are adequate, which is a full spectrum deterrence to ensure that no matter at what level, if our adversary attempts a misadventure, it will be given a credible, proportionate and unaffordable response.
Oh, I am definitely sure of that. Agha Iqrar, let's come to our not so friendly neighbor, because this is something that you know, we have kind of touched upon during the course of the show, but I'd like to now concentrate on this very aspect. Responsibility, nuclear responsibility, that you yourself have said, Ali has said as well, is something that Pakistan can be proud of, is something that India should not be proud of at all. With the number of incidents you yourself have said in the last 5 years that have emanated from India, 37 if I'm not wrong. And then of course the fact that remains, as Ali has also mentioned, that its nuclear program, India's nuclear program at the onset is not up to date, is not up to the standards of the nuclear protocols. How do you see both the countries? If I were to ask you to contrast and compare Pakistan and India as two nuclear states, what would your reaction be? As a neutral person, despite you being Pakistani, I'd like you to give a very neutral response to this.
Pakistan and India as two nuclear states, what would your reaction be? As a neutral person, despite you being Pakistani, I'd like you to give a very neutral response.
Thank you so much. I'm very honestly, I will talk to you as you mentioned. I would be more honest. Look, Pakistan has no plan for expansionism. Pakistan has never thought about it. It has no expansionist approach actually. India has an expansionist approach. You look their relation with Myanmar, you look their relation with Bangladesh, you look their relation with Nepal. So India is indigenously has this desire to expand. Pakistan doesn't have. We never thought about that. So Indian nuclear arsenal is being used for expansionism. We are using as a deterrent. Here I would again would like to mention a very important point, taking the advantage of your show. But we are very unfortunate to tell the world what is going on inside India. Our media campaign is so weak. Our state is so, I mean, in a in a state of something. Look, if it could have been only one issue in Pakistan, there could have been, if you can say, a hurricane of allegations against Pakistan all over the world in the international media. But there are 37 cases only in 5 years. Have you seen the role of our media should have been taken to, explain it and promote it? Never. Actually, our problem, sorry?
Here at Pakistan Television have done numerous shows on that, myself included. We have done shows on these incidents that have happened in India.
So, I am of the view that we have a bomb, we have a strategy, and we have a very hostile enemy. As our neighbor, and it enemy has a very strong roots in international media. So we should have a proper media campaign, a media strategic plan using the cognitive and semiotic technologies to tell the people that Indian bomb is very, very dangerous, not for Pakistan, for the entire region. And we are not blaming India. 37 leakages in 5 years, my dear, this is not a joke. And another point, by taking the lead from Muhammad Ali Saab, he just mentioned that Pakistan has a very strong army and very strong air force and navy. And we have enhanced our capability during the last 25 years. Of course, he was mentioning our nuclear, injection in all three. But one thing very important, Indo-Pacific is totally changing. India is working as a partner of UCOS and partner of, other American design to block the all Chinese trade routes in Indo-Pacific. And Indo-Pacific is now having the nuclear submarines given to Australia. In these circumstances, Pakistan must work very extensively in our naval capability, because we have to match what can be just after 4 or 5 years. This Indo-Pacific would be very volatile. If I am wrong, this is my fear. Muhammad Ali Saab is the best person to comment on that, but this is my fear. Do not take Indo-Pacific development very easily, particularly naval capability and naval capacity.
Easily, but thanks to have mentioned that, because that's a very important point. And I'm going to revert to Ali to discuss the strategic element of all of that. AUKUS, Indo-Pacific strategy of the United States of America, this whole anti-China rhetoric that the West has applied. And to add to it, the wars that are related to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, plus Afghanistan, plus tensions in the region, like recently we've seen Afghan-Iran tensions on the border as well. All of that add to a regional perspective that becomes all the more dangerous and could be used directly or indirectly by certain important powers against countries in this very region. How has Pakistan's strategy evolved in order to confidently, face all of such strategies that the West has been trying to implement in the region by highlighting India as the main power here?
Profound question. I think I'll try to give a simple answer to this profound question. Three things. Number one, what's going on in the world? The world order is in a flux. We have discussed that a number of times. And US is facing a greater challenge in different domains, not just military domain, not just technological domain, economy, industry, currency, de-dollarization, a very rapid rise of BRICS. And so the threat that the US faces is not just kinetic and military. It's economic, it's currency, it's industrial, it's global supply chain, it's monopoly over the computer chip production process, which affects weapon systems, missiles, aircraft of all the countries of all the world. So it's basically a increasingly industrial contest in which the global supply chain is being attempted to be monopolized by one bloc, and to be, in order to deny the technology, the wealth, the access to the other emerging bloc. That's the context.
All right.
But to put things into context, you would recall Pakistan's Foreign Office statement, Pakistan's Prime Minister's statement, and also a very interesting address by Pakistan's Army Chief at the PMA graduation. He said something very interesting.
And which date are we referring to exactly?
I think a few weeks ago when the PMA passing out parade was taking place, Pakistan's Army Chief made a very interesting address. On that day he said Pakistan will not become part of bloc politics. So that is a very important statement and international signal that Pakistan is, and let me relate it to an earlier discussion we had in today's program, that Pakistan's nuclear weapon is a Pakistani weapon. It does not have a religion, it does not have a caste, it does not have ethnicity or language. Although we can discuss that perhaps Indian weapon is perhaps a Hindutva weapon, increasingly Hindutva weapon, since they have recovered and the gloves are off from their facade of secularism. So coming back to the strategy, Pakistan's elements of national powers force us to build bilateral close relations with all countries, with all emerging, resurgent and status quo world powers. We want to bilaterally engage with everybody, but do not want to align ourselves with one against the other, which has been a costly experience in the Cold War for us. So coming to the nuclear side, basically our program is only for self-defense and national security. We are not dependent on anyone. That is also very important for our nation to know. So we only expect the respect, the technological access that any responsible, peace-loving nation in the world deserves. However, we expect the international community and international institutions to be cognizant of the irresponsible and dangerous strategic behavior of our eastern neighbor, led by an extremist outfit, having a very poor safety record, a very irresponsible security record, and still they're getting so much access.
But that
side has to be taken care of.
Ali, that we can contest for a very, very long time, because there are so many different angles and strategies that are attached to it all. This said, today, ladies and gentlemen, is a very important day, and it's a day that we need to realize the importance of. It's a day that we need to commemorate, to observe, to highlight to our young ones, and to thank our older generation to have gone through those times and then stood up proud as a nation, as a Muslim nation, as a nation altogether. Pakistan has had 25 years of a responsible nuclear program, and inshallah in the coming decades as well, Pakistan will continue to have a responsible nuclear program that does not want to harm any particular country, despite the assertions that our not so friendly neighbor has been putting. But in fact, we will be very wary of the statements and the perceptions that India will be putting forward in its own country as far as nuclear capability is concerned. This said, Pakistan will always be and will continue to be ready for any such attempt that is made by any country, whether it be India or any other whatsoever. Today is a day to reflect on Pakistan as a country. Today is a day to stand tall and proud of Pakistan as a responsible Muslim nuclear country. We end our transmission, and of course we'd like to thank both our guests in the studio, Syed Muhammad Ali and online Agha Iqrar, to have joined us, to have talked very candidly about the different aspects of Pakistan's nuclear program, its historical perspective, Pakistan's program vis-a-vis and compared to the Indian program. And of course, before I go, I'd also just like to, in a few words, highlight the peaceful aspects, of the nuclear program. It can be used for energy purposes, and I hope that Pakistan in the coming years will use more and more of our nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, for energy generation that could be used to alleviate Pakistan's energy woes as well. Omar, Khalid, but bids you farewell from this special edition of Newsroom. We'll be back inshallah with our regular Newsroom tomorrow at 7 p.m. Allah Hafiz.